Jace walked alone through the silent alien marketplace, moving slowly between broken stalls and empty streets. The sky above him was dark purple, filled with thin smoke from old fires that had burned long ago. Every corner of this place felt cold, forgotten, and dead. Jace had been traveling for months, looking for supplies, looking for peace, looking for anything that made him feel less alone. But this abandoned town only whispered old memories, nothing more. He kicked a small metal can on the ground, and the sound echoed loudly. Too loudly, it made him stop. He listened. Nothing answered back. No animals, no voices, no wind. Only silence. Then suddenly, he heard a small sound, a very soft cry. It was so light that anyone else might have ignored it, but Jace froze. His body stiffened. He knew that sound. It was the sound of a child. He slowly turned his head. At the far end of the road, half hidden behind a fallen sign, stood a tiny alien girl. She looked no older than 7. Her skin was pale silver, her hair was tangled, and her small hands shook. In the cold air, she held something close to her chest, a bundle wrapped in torn cloth. Her eyes, large and glowing faint blue, stared at Jace with fear. Jace took one careful step forward. The girl stepped back, then with a trembling voice, she whispered something he did not expect. "Human, can you buy us?" The words hit Jace like a sudden punch. "Buy us?" He blinked, confused. He looked again at the bundle she carried. It moved. It made a soft cry. It was a baby. A newborn alien baby wrapped in torn fabric. Before he could speak, the girl whispered again, "Please, can you buy us? We do not want to go back." Jace raised both hands slowly, showing he meant no harm. His voice stayed calm. "Hey, I don't want to hurt you. Who are you running from?" The girl did not answer. Instead, she looked to her left toward the shadows near a broken wall. Jace followed her gaze and saw movement. Something crawling. An injured alien woman dragged herself out of the darkness. She looked weak, with deep cuts on her arms and dirt covering her face. Her breathing was sharp and painful. She reached toward the girl with one shaking hand. "Lyra, come here," the woman whispered. The little girl hurried to her and placed the baby carefully in the woman's arms. The woman held her children close for a moment, then looked up at Jace, her eyes full of fear and exhaustion. "Human, please, help us," she said softly, almost crying. "They will kill my children if they find us." Jace stepped closer. "Who will?" Before she could answer, the ground vibrated under Jace's boots. A deep, heavy thud. Then another. Then another. The injured woman's eyes widened with panic. "They are coming," she whispered. "The hunters." Jace felt the air change. The temperature dropped. A blue light flashed across the street as a scanning beam swept over the empty stalls. Lyra grabbed Jace's jacket suddenly, her tiny fingers shaking. "Please, human," she whispered. "They want the baby. They want me. Please protect us." Jace looked down at her terrified face. Something inside his chest tightened. He had been alone for so long, wandering without purpose, without connection. But now, 2 children clung to him with desperate trust. The ground shook again, louder this time. He heard heavy boots, metallic steps. A strange alien voice speaking. Through a radio, "Target detected. Spread out. Do not lose the brood mother." Jace's heart started pounding. He looked around quickly. No time to think, no time to question. Either he protects them, or they die. He crouched beside the alien. "Mother, can you walk?" She shook her head weakly. "No, but take them. Take my children, please." Jace looked at Lyra. Her eyes begged him. Then Jace made his choice. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "All of you." He lifted the alien baby carefully into his arms. Lyra held onto his coat tightly. The injured mother crawled behind cover. A tall armored shadow appeared at the corner of the street. Then another. And another. 3 hunters stepped into view, scanning the ruins with glowing blue masks. Jace whispered to the children, "Don't move." The baby whimpered. Lyra covered. The baby's mouth gently. The hunters stepped closer. One of them stopped. His mask turned toward Jace's hiding spot. Jace felt his breath stop. The hunter lifted his weapon. The final moment froze in silence. Then a bright blue spotlight snapped on, pointing straight at Jace and the children. The hunters had found them, and the story began. The bright blue spotlight hit Jace like a punch of cold fire. He tightened his grip on the baby and pulled Lyra close behind a broken wall. His heart slammed against his ribs, but his mind stayed sharp. He had survived battles before. He knew fear, and he knew how to move inside it. The hunters walked slowly toward them. Their heavy boots pressed hard on the cracked ground, making deep thuds that echoed through the empty market. Their armor was dark gray and lined with glowing blue symbols. Their long weapons hummed with electric power. One hunter raised his mask and scanned the area again. Heat signatures found. 3 bodies, the mask said in a robotic voice. Jace whispered to Lyra, "Stay quiet. Don't move." The baby made a tiny soft sound. Lyra gently rocked him, trying her best to keep him calm. The injured alien mother, hidden behind a fallen metal sheet, covered her mouth to silence her breathing. The hunters spread out. One moved left, another moved right, and the third came straight toward them. Jace knew hiding wouldn't work much longer. He looked at Lyra. Her eyes were full of pure fear, but she stood close to him like she believed he was her only safe place. "Lyra," he whispered, "you must trust me. When I say run, you run behind me. Don't stop. Don't look back." She nodded. Her small hands were shaking hard. The hunter closest to them lifted his weapon. A sharp electric sound filled the air. The weapon charged. Jace knew the next second could kill all 3 of them. He grabbed a heavy metal pipe from the ground and threw it across the road. It clanged loudly. The hunters turned instantly toward the noise. Movement detected. One shouted. JSC seized the moment. "Run!" He whispered. Lyra held his coat tightly and followed him. The baby was still in his arms. Warm but too quiet. Too fragile. They moved fast between broken stalls, overturned carts, and shattered glass. Jace's military training guided every step. His boots were silent. His breath was steady. His eyes scanned every corner, but the hunters were trained too. Very trained. Behind them, loud metallic footsteps began again. The hunters had picked up their trail. One of them growled through the radio, "Do not let the broodmother escape. The children are worth more than the planet." Jace felt a cold wave in his stomach. Children worth more than a planet? What were they planning to do with them? He needed answers. But not now. Now he just needed to keep them alive. He turned sharply and entered a narrow alley between 2 collapsed buildings. The shadows were thick and old wires hung from the ceiling like dead vines. Lyra clung to him harder, trying not to cry. "Human," she whispered. "They never stop. They always follow. They can smell us. They can hear everything." Jace looked back. The hunters were scanning each corner, their lights glowing brighter. "Good," he whispered. "Then I will give them something to chase." He reached into his pocket and found a small flare. He cracked it, and it burst with bright red fire. He placed it on the ground, far away from their actual path. The hunters turned again. Heat spike detected. One said. They moved toward the flare. Jace took the children to the opposite side of the alley and climbed through a hole in the wall, entering a deeper, darker part of the ruins. The air smelled burnt, and broken machines lay everywhere, covered in dust. The baby started to cry, a small, sad cry. Jace pressed him gently to calm him. "It's okay. I've got you. he whispered. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke behind them. Jace. The alien mother had followed them, dragging her injured leg. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard. You should have left me. They only want the children. I am slowing you down. Jace shook his head. No one gets left behind, not today. She looked at him with weak eyes. You don't understand. They want the baby alive, and they want Lyra alive. But me, they want me dead. Jace clenched his jaw. Why? But before she could answer, the ground vibrated again. The hunters were close, too close. Jace held the baby tight. Lyra grabbed his sleeve. The alien mother pushed herself upright, trying to stand. Then the hunters' voices echoed through the ruins. We found them. Block the exit. They are trapped. Jace felt adrenaline shoot through him. His mind worked fast. He saw a broken stairway leading down into a deeper tunnel. It was narrow, dark, and dangerous, but it was a way out. He pointed. Go, now. Lyra helped her mother. Jace stayed behind them, making sure they didn't fall. The hunters turned the corner. A bright blue beam shot toward them. Jace grabbed a metal plate and blocked the beam. Sparks exploded around him. Move! He shouted. The children and mother hurried down the stairs. Jace followed last. The hunters reached the top of the stairs. One of them said, Human detected. Eliminate. Jace looked back at them, then at the children below. He took a deep breath. He jumped into the darkness, and the tunnel swallowed them whole. The dark tunnel swallowed Jace, Lyra, the baby, and the injured alien mother as they fell down the broken stairs. Dust exploded around them, metal clanged. Old wires brushed against Jace's shoulders like cold hands. When they finally reached the bottom, Jace rolled to protect the crying baby in his arms. Lyra landed beside him and pushed herself up fast, breathing hard. The alien mother slid down last, holding her injured side. She winced but forced herself to stay quiet. Above them, the hunters' boots hit the ground with heavy steps. Their bright masks scanned the entrance to the stairway. Jace whispered, Stay low. Don't make a sound. The tunnel stretched forward like a long throat, narrow and filled with shadows. Broken lights flickered weakly on the walls. The air smelled like burnt metal and rusted machines. Lyra leaned close and whispered, This is the dark zone. Jace frowned. The what? The most dangerous part of the ruins, she said softly. Old war machines live here. They don't know the war is over. Jace felt a cold chill run down his back. He glanced at the alien. Mother, she nodded weakly. It is true. The machines here attack anything with a heartbeat. Jace exhaled slowly. Perfect place to hide then. The baby whimpered, tiny and afraid. Jace gently rocked him, whispering comfort. Lyra walked beside him, one hand gripping his coat as if he was the only thing keeping her alive. Behind them, the hunters reached the stairway entrance. A robotic voice echoed, movement detected. 3 signatures moving downward. Jace mouthed a silent curse. Move, he whispered, now. He guided the group deeper into the tunnel. The metal floor creaked beneath their feet. Flickering lights blinked one by one, as if waking up after many years. Strange wires hung like spiderwebs from the ceiling. Every step felt like the world was watching. Suddenly, a loud metallic thud came from the darkness ahead. Lyra froze. The alien mother covered her mouth. Jace raised his hand to stop them. He listened. Another thud. Then another. A slow, heavy metal footstep. Something was coming. Jace stepped forward and pointed his flashlight into the darkness. The beam revealed a large shape. A big machine, old, dusty, and damaged, stood like a giant spider made of metal. Its glowing red eyes blinked awake as the light touched it. A voice came from inside the machine, broken and glitching. War protocol. Active. Target. Detected. Lyra grabbed Jace's arm tightly. Run! But Jace looked again. The machine was facing the hunters above, not them. Its sensors had detected the heavier footsteps. It didn't care about Jace's small group. Yet, stay behind me, he whispered. The machine lifted its long metal legs and marched toward the stairway. Each step boom made dust rain from the ceiling. The hunters' voices echoed from above. Unknown machine detected. Preparing to engage, they didn't finish. A loud explosion filled the tunnel entrance. Metal hit metal. Sparks flew like fireworks. The war machine attacked the hunters without mercy. Their blue lights flashed wildly as they fought back. Jace didn't wait to see who won. Move! He whispered sharply. They hurried deeper into the dark zone. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with broken robots, rusted weapons, and old screens glowing faint lines of code. The alien mother leaned against the wall, breathing fast. I can't go far. Jace checked her wound. The cut was deep, bleeding too much. You need rest, he said softly. She shook her head. No, hunters will come again. They always do. Lyra stepped forward. Mother, please. The yeoman Bijamba. Mother smiled weakly and touched Lyra's cheek. My brave child. Jace knew they needed a place to hide or a new escape route. He scanned the chamber. To the right, he saw a narrow path between fallen machines. We go there, he said. But before they moved, a broken robot lying on the floor suddenly lit up. Its sensors flickered. Its metallic fingers twitched. Its voice whispered in a glitching tone. Identify, friend or foe. Jace raised his hands. We're not fighting, we're just passing through. The robot's eyes blinked red, then turned green. Human detected, unusual. Rare, it said with interest. Lyra hid. Behind Jace, the baby whimpered again. The robot looked at the alien mother. Brood mother, damaged, danger level high. Jace stiffened. How do you know that? The robot's eyes dimmed and brightened. Old war records, hunters follow brood mothers for harvest. Threat level extreme. Jace felt a rush of fear and anger. Harvest? Is that what they want? Her children? The robot did not answer. It simply leaned back, as if going back to sleep. But its last words echoed in Jace's mind. Harvest. The hunters wanted the children alive for a reason. Far darker than he imagined. He looked at Lyra and the baby. Their small faces were full of trust. No one is taking you, he whispered. Behind them, the war machine roared again, metal crashing, sparks flying. Jace lifted the baby, held Lyra's hand, and stepped into the narrow path. They moved deeper. Into the dark zone, where new dangers waited, but also the only hope of escape. The narrow path twisted like a dark maze, leading Jace and the alien family deeper into the cold shadows of the dark zone. Pipes dripped water. Broken screens flickered. Weak blue lines, and every step echoed in the metal tunnel. Jace carried the baby close to his chest, feeling the tiny heartbeat through the cloth. Lyra held his coat tightly, never letting go. The alien mother limped behind them, breathing with painful effort. They finally reached a small dry corner behind a group of fallen machines. Jace looked around carefully before allowing them to rest. The baby whimpered softly. Lyra sat beside her mother and held her hand. Jace knelt down. We stay here for a moment. You all need a break. The alien mother nodded but winced from pain. Her face was pale, and sweat covered her forehead. Jace ripped a piece of cloth from his sleeve and wrapped her bleeding wound. This will slow the bleeding, he said gently. The mother looked at him with weak eyes. You are very kind for a human. Jace shrugged. I just do what's right. Lyra leaned close, her voice trembling but curious. Human. Why? Did you help us? Most people run when they see hunters. Jace looked at her. Something heavy moved in his chest. Because no child should be hunted, he said softly. And no mother should beg for her children's life. The mother closed her eyes for a moment. Then she spoke in a thin whisper. You should know the truth. Before more danger comes. Jace paused. What truth? She opened her eyes slowly. Her voice shook not from fear, but from sadness. My children, Lyra and the baby. They are not normal. Lyra flinched. Mother. It is time, the mother whispered. He must know. Jace stared at them, confused and concerned. The mother continued. Our people, my species, has been changing for many years. Some of us were tested in secret labs. They mixed our blood with another species stronger, rarer. They wanted to create hybrids. Jace felt a cold chill. Hybrids? You mean, yes, she said softly. My children are hybrids. Part of them is me. But the other part, the scientists never explained. They experimented on many mothers. Most babies died. Only a few survived, and those who did became valuable, not valued as children, but as property, as weapons, as rare creatures. Lyra's small voice whispered. That's why they chase us. They say my baby brother has the strongest blood. Jace felt anger grow inside him. So the hunters. They want the children to sell, to use? The mother nodded. To control, to study, to break. That is why. I ran. I escaped the lab before they could take Lyra and the newborn. Her voice cracked. But they caught me. They hurt me. They almost took the baby. I fought them, but I could not fight forever. Jace looked at Lyra, this tiny girl, shaking, and scared, had survived hell. He felt something tighten in his chest protection, fierce and heavy. The mother reached out and touched Jace's arm with a weak hand. I told Lyra about humans. Humans care for children. Humans protect the weak. That is why she asked you to buy us. In her mind, being bought by a human meant being safe. Being kept, not sold. Lyra lowered her head, ashamed. I did not know another word. I only wanted safety. Jace placed his hand gently on her head. You did nothing wrong, Lyra. For the first time since he met her, Lyra's big silver eyes softened, not with fear, but with a tiny spark of hope. But before the moment could settle, a faint metallic click echoed from the tunnel behind them. Jace instantly stood up, muscles tense. Lyra gasped. They're coming again? The mother shook her head. Not hunters. Something else. Jace looked toward the sound. A small sphere rolled into the chamber, blinking red. A drone, scouting, searching. Jace grabbed a piece of metal from the ground and hurled it at the drone before it could scan them. The metal struck the drone hard, knocking it into a wall. Sparks flew, but the damage was done. The drone's broken voice whispered, Alert! Location found. Jace cursed under his breath. We need to move, now. The mother tried to stand but nearly fell. Jace caught her. You can't walk, he said. Her voice was faint. Then leave me, Lyra cried. No. We can't. The mother touched her daughter's cheek again. Lyra, I love you, but he must protect you. Protect your brother. Jace shook his head firmly. I don't leave people behind, ever. The mother looked into his eyes and saw he meant every word. From far away, echoing through the tunnel, came the chilling metallic sound of hunters loading their weapons. The mother whispered the last part of her secret, her voice trembling. They will never stop. Not until they take my children, and not until I am dead. Jace lifted the baby, held Lyra's hand, and looked at the mother. Then we stay together, he said, and we fight together. The tunnel lights flickered. The hunters were almost there, and the family had only seconds left. The faint echo of metal boots grew louder. The hunters were moving with purpose now, swift, angry, and certain of their target. The narrow tunnel vibrated with every step they took. Jace could feel the danger approaching like a tightening rope around his throat. He lifted the baby carefully and turned to Lyra. "Stay behind me. Don't let go." Lyra nodded quickly, her trembling hand slipping into his, her small fingers squeezed with desperate trust. The alien mother tried to stand, but her injured leg gave out again. She collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily. "Jace," she whispered, "I cannot run anymore. My body is failing. You must take them and go." Jace shook his head. "You're not dying here." A sudden explosion shook the tunnel. Dust rained from the ceiling. Blue lights flashed from around the bend. The hunters had arrived. Jace gritted his teeth. "Move," he commanded. He guided Lyra and the baby to a narrow section of the tunnel, where thick metal pipes lined the walls. The mother dragged herself behind them, pushing through her pain. Another loud metallic crash echoed, this one closer. Then the hunters' robotic voices filled the space. "Broodmother detected. Hybrid signatures confirmed. Prepare restraint units." Lyra gasped and clung tighter to Jace. "They want my brother." Jace turned, fire burning in his eyes. "Not while I'm alive." Suddenly a blue electric beam shot past them and hit a wall, sending sparks everywhere. The baby began to cry loudly, shaking in fear. Jace rocked him quickly. "It's okay. I've got you," he whispered. The mother looked up at him with tears in her eyes, seeing how gently he held her child. "You are more of a parent than the lab ever allowed us to be," she whispered. Another blast echoed closer. Jace scanned the area fast. His soldier instincts sparked to life. Machines, debris, and loose wires littered the path. He could use this. He could defend them. He placed the baby into Lyra's arms. "Hold him tight. Don't drop him." She nodded hard, backing behind. A broken console. Then Jace grabbed a thick metal pipe from the floor. It was heavy, rusted, and sharp at one end. Not perfect, but enough. The first hunter stepped into view. He was tall, armored, with glowing blue markings running along his helmet. His voice was cold and flat. "Release the broodmother. Human interference unnecessary." Jace stepped between. "The hunter and the children. You'll have to get through me." The hunter aimed his weapon. A sharp electric sound filled the air. JSC. He ducked and swung the pipe as the beam fired. The metal sparked, absorbing most of the blast. Jace moved fast and hit the hunter's arm. The weapon flew from its grip and clattered to the ground. But the hunter was strong, too strong. It grabbed Jace by the shoulder and shoved him into a wall. Pain shot through his back. Lyra screamed, "Jace!" He forced himself to stand again. "Stay back!" he shouted. The hunter stepped forward, lifting Jace by his throat. "You are in violation of..." Before the sentence finished, the alien mother crawled forward and stabbed the hunter's leg with a sharp piece of metal. The hunter released Jace instantly and staggered. JSC. He gasped for breath, then grabbed the loose wires from the ceiling. They crackled with leftover energy. He wrapped them around the hunter's armor and forced the wires together. A burst of electricity exploded. The hunter jerked violently and collapsed on the ground. Smoking. JAC. He dropped to one knee, breathing hard, but there was no time to rest. Two more hunters appeared. The mother looked up at Jace, pain written on her face. "I will hold them. You take the children." Jace stared at her, shocked. "No, yes," she whispered. "I cannot run anymore. My body is dying, but you can save them." Lyra cried, shaking her head. "Mother, no, please no." The mother held her daughter's face with trembling fingers. "You must live, my sweet child. And your brother must live too. This is my duty. As your mother." Jace's chest tightened. He knew she was right. She couldn't run. She couldn't hide. But she could buy them time. The mother picked up the fallen hunter's weapon and pointed it at the approaching enemies. She looked weak, but her eyes were fierce. "Go," she whispered. Go now. Tears streamed down Lyra's face. She hugged her mother one last time, then clung to Jace again. Jace lifted the baby into his arms and grabbed Lyra's hand. We won't waste your sacrifice, he said as they ran into the deeper tunnels. The last thing they heard was the mother's voice shouting, Stay away from my children. Then a loud explosion shook the tunnel. The mother's final stand had begun, and Jace knew they had only minutes left to reach safety. The blast behind them rolled through the tunnel like thunder, shaking the walls and sending dust into the air. Lyra stumbled as the floor vibrated, but Jace held her hand tightly and kept moving. The baby pressed against his chest, crying softly with fear and confusion. The echoes of battle metal clashing, weapons firing, the mother roaring in pain. And strength followed them like ghosts. Jace didn't dare look back. He couldn't. Not now. Stay close, he whispered to Lyra, though she was already gripping his coat with all the strength she had. The tunnel ahead grew darker and narrower. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, warnings, old scripts, forgotten languages. Broken pipes dripped water that echoed in the silence. Everything felt heavier without the mother behind them. Her absence felt like a wound. Jace, Lyra whispered between sobs. Is she coming? Jace swallowed hard. His voice shook, but he kept it steady for her. Your mother is buying us time. We must make her sacrifice mean something. Lyra covered her mouth, trying not to cry too loudly. The baby whimpered, and she leaned close to comfort him. It's okay, little one. We're okay. But they weren't okay. The hunters' voices began echoing again from behind them. Broodmother eliminated. Hybrid children still alive. Target the human. Jace felt rage burn inside him. They're not targets, he whispered through clenched teeth. They're children. He turned a corner and froze. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber, one he recognized from old military maps. A crashed ship lay half buried under rubble, covered in dust and wires. Its metal hull was dented and burned. One wing was torn off, but the cockpit remained intact. A human shuttle. Jace's eyes widened. I can't believe this. Lyra looked up at him. What is it? It's a ship. A human ship. Old model. But maybe alive. Lyra's eyes sparkled with fragile hope. Can it fly? Jace approached it slowly. The ship looked dead like a skeleton of old metal. But Jace had spent years repairing machines, engines, weapons. He could fix almost anything if he had time. The hunters' voices grew louder behind them. He had no time. Still, he climbed onto the hull, ripped open a rusted maintenance panel, and reached inside. Wires were torn. Fuses burned. Circuits dead. But the main core, the heart of the ship, still glowed faint orange, weak, but alive. It can fly, Jace whispered. Maybe. He jumped down and looked at Lyra. We need power. Anything that can boost the core. Lyra nodded and searched the chamber. Her alien eyes scanned like she'd done this before. She pointed at a broken generator lying in the corner. That machine, it has energy. I saw its lights last time. I hid here. Jace ran to the generator. It was cracked but still humming with faint power. Good job, Lyra. He ripped a panel open and found two thick power cables. He dragged them across the floor, sparks flying at the ends. Then he connected them to the ship's power input. At first, nothing. Then, the ground beneath them vibrated softly. The ship's core lit up, orange, then red, then bright white. A soft hum filled the chamber. The ship was waking up. Lyra gasped. It's alive! It's alive! Jace ran to the cockpit, opened the cracked glass, and climbed inside. Dust flew everywhere as the systems flickered. Old screens glowed. Buttons beeped. A robotic voice whispered weakly. Power. Restored. Engines offline. Manual override required. Jace smiled a little. I can fix that. He turned back. To Lyra, "Get inside, strap in, hold the baby tight." She nodded quickly and climbed in, sitting in the co-pilot seat while holding the baby close to her chest. But before Jace could repair the last engine connection, a blue beam shot past the cockpit window. The hunters had reached the chamber. Their heavy boots entered the room. Their glowing masks scanned the ship. Human detected. Hybrid children detected. Capture protocol engaged. Jace jumped out of the cockpit, heart racing. He grabbed a metal bar and swung it at a hunter who tried to grab the ship's wing. The hit made the hunter stumble, but another hunter fired at him. The beam grazed Jace's shoulder, burning through his jacket. He cried out in pain but didn't stop. Lyra screamed from inside the ship. "Jace, get in!" He ripped a wire from the engine core and jammed it into place. The ship roared to life, engines glowing bright blue. The hunters rushed forward. "Stop the launch!" Jace climbed into the cockpit, slammed the hatch shut, and pulled the control lever with all his strength. The engine screamed. The floor shook dust. Flew the hunters fired again, and the ship blasted upward with a powerful shockwave. The hunters flew backward from the force. Lyra covered the baby with her body. Jace held the controls tight as the damaged ship rose out of the ruins and shot into the dark sky below them. The hunters' voices faded into silence. Lyra looked at Jace with tears of relief. Are we safe?" Jace exhaled slowly. "For now," he said softly. "But our journey is not over." And the ship flew into the night, carrying a human, a girl, and a newborn child toward an unknown future. The damaged shuttle shot through the dark sky, shaking like an old bird trying to fly again after years of sleep. Warning lights blinked across the cockpit. The engines growled unevenly, sometimes roaring, sometimes coughing. But they kept going, because Jace refused to let them die now. He kept his hands tight on the controls, breathing hard. His shoulder burned from the hunter's weapon, but he ignored the pain. Lyra sat behind him, holding the baby close to her chest. Her silver eyes were wide with fear, but also with something new: hope. Outside, the ruined planet grew smaller. The clouds parted. Stars shaped the sky like endless tiny candles. Lyra whispered, Is Mother watching us from the stars now?" Jace's throat tightened. He didn't look back, because he knew his eyes were wet too. "Yes," he said softly. "She's watching, and she's proud of you." Lyra hugged the baby a little closer. "She told me to protect him, but I am small. I don't know how." Jace turned his head slightly and looked at her. "You're stronger than you think. You showed courage no child should ever have to show." The baby cooed softly as if agreeing, but the ship shook again, harder this time. A loud alarm filled the cockpit. "Warning. Hull damage increasing," the ship's robotic voice said weakly. "Atmospheric re-entry not recommended." Jace cursed under his breath. The ship was too damaged. It couldn't travel far. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked, fear returning to her voice. Jace checked the map on the screen. Most systems were offline, but one planet glowed faint blue on the scanner. A small, quiet world. Not Earth, but habitable. Somewhere. "Safe," he said. "Somewhere no hunters can find you." She leaned forward. "Jace, you will stay with us, right?" The question pierced him deeper than any hunter's weapon. He looked at her, this fragile alien girl who trusted him with her whole life. He looked at the baby, tiny and trembling. He looked at the universe ahead of them, wide and empty, and he realized something, for the first time in years. He wasn't lonely. Yes, he said finally. "I'm not going anywhere." Lyra smiled, a small, tired smile that seemed to carry the memory of her mother. "Then we are a family now." Jace felt a warmth bloom inside his chest. He didn't deny it. The ship began shaking again as they approached the new world's atmosphere. Fire streaked across the windows as they entered. Lyra gasped and covered the baby with her arms, but Jace spoke quickly. "Hold tight. We're breaking through." The cockpit rattled violently. Screws fell from the ceiling. The floor vibrated like it might split open. But Jace kept his hands on the controls, guiding the ship through the burning sky. Minutes passed like hours. Then air. Clouds. Blue sky. They had made it through. The land below was covered in green forests and soft hills. Rivers sparkled like silver threads. Jace exhaled slowly. "We're safe." Lyra rested her head against the baby's blanket. "It's beautiful," but the ship was still failing. Smoke curled from the engine. Jace angled the shuttle toward a flat meadow. "Brace!" he shouted. The ship crashed through the trees, snapping branches and sliding across the ground. Dirt flew in every direction. The shuttle skidded, twisted, and finally came to a stop. Silence. Then, a baby's cry. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. We survived?" Jace laughed weakly. "Yeah, somehow." He unbuckled himself, his body aching, and checked both children. Lyra had a small bruise, but was okay. The baby was scared but unharmed. Jace opened the hatch. Fresh air rushed. In cool, clean, peaceful. They stepped out together. Lyra looked around. "Will hunters come here?" "No," Jace said firmly. "This world isn't on their maps, and even if they try, they'll never reach you as long as I live." Lyra slipped her hand into his. "Thank you, Jace." He looked down at her. "You don't need to thank me. You're not a mission. You're family." Her eyes filled with gentle tears, but not of fear this time, of relief. Of belonging. Jace picked up the baby, holding him with surprising softness for a man who had survived war and loneliness. The baby wrapped one tiny hand around Jace's finger. Lyra smiled at the sight. "He likes you." Jace smiled back, a genuine smile he had not felt in years. "I like him too." They walked toward the edge of the meadow, a new world, a new life. New beginning. Behind them, the damaged ship sat like a silent monument, a reminder of the family who had fought, sacrificed, and survived. Jace looked at the stars one last time and whispered, "We'll make you proud." And on that quiet planet, far from hunters and fear, a lonely human, an alien girl, and a newborn hybrid child stepped into a future no one could have imagined, not as strangers, but as a family.